Welcome to Goldfish on Games, and the jump in storage space from the floppy disk to the CD-ROM was absolutely huge, and you would have thought developers would have been falling over themselves to try and fill it up. But initially, most of the games were limited to FMV titles and a few other select games. This was mostly because not everyone had a CD-ROM drive in their computer, and when you installed the game it was rarely over 30 megabytes, so with a bit of compression you could easily fit it on a few floppy disks. But that all changed come the 90s, when the multimedia PC craze took over, and it suddenly became far easier to buy a PC with a CD-ROM already installed and configured. And developers and publishers took notice. Suddenly you had all these games with video intros and CD music, but not all games required that. So what were those games that hadn't really grown all that much going to do with all that space? Well, Westwood Studios' Red Alert didn't need any help in filling a CD as they had lots of cutscenes, but the same couldn't be said of its two expansions, in which they added no new videos, and so how were they going to use that space, as the data itself really wasn't all that big. And if we take a look at the installer, we can find the first thing they added, which was Windows themes, which included backgrounds, icons, sound effects, and pointers. I still use some of these backgrounds today, and for a very long time I actually used the repair wrench icon as my waiting cursor. But that was only part of the story, as there was still quite a bit of space. And what they did with it was a classic old idea, CD music tracks, which in this case was actually quite special, as the tracks were not used in game at all. Instead they had a really good sample based player. This was just for you to listen to on your boombox. Just remember, don't play track 1. Hit Squad was a company that republished games in budget releases, much like Virgin's White Label or GT's Replay, and they started to release games on CD, and one such game was Doom 2, which was about 12 megabytes in size, which was tiny for a CD. So what did they try and fill the disc with? Well, what else but their own custom animated 3D movie. One method that wasn't used as much as I thought was to put as demo on the CD. Now these are from the same developer or the same publisher. Sierra put a whole bunch of demos on their Caesar 2 CD. So many in fact they actually included their own menu on the disc to be able to select and install them. Other games like Transport Tycoon actually included a demo of themselves, which initially I was a bit confused about, but it turns out the idea was that you were meant to give the demo to your friends to play, and not just install the game themselves. Whoops. And if we check out the Doom 2 CD, we have a shareware version of Doom 1, but also 2 copies of Doom. One copy is all the files for the installer, and the other one is just the game already installed, but to the CD, so it could be played directly from it. Demos weren't the only way to promote your game. The other big method was to include a trailer for your upcoming title. Westwood always put sneak peeks on their main menu, Blue Byte, they went above and beyond for their games. Just check the CD for Settlers 2, you'll find a couple of demos, trailers, and even a music video for Battle Isle 3.
Where the shadow of the empire is the answer to your tears.
And if we check the earliest version of Half-Life, there's this previews button, and if we click on it, it actually takes you to a website that's locally hosted on your machine, and has some early screenshots of Team Fortress, as well as another Sierra Online title. Some devs actually went back and redid part of their games. This resulted in new audio or new graphics. One game that did both was the original Dune, in which they redid a lot of the graphics, they added animated scenes for the flying, and they even put in a clip from the movie at the beginning. But on top of that, they added full voice acting through the whole game. It actually makes quite an interesting experience jumping between the two of them.
My son, we must mine the spice as soon as possible, or the Emperor will recall us from Dune.
And then there were the devs and publishers who really didn't do anything at all, such as Gremlin, who put absolutely no effort into their CD-ROM releases. If we look at Zool, the game itself is only a couple of megabytes, but the installers for Acrobat Reader for both DOS and Windows is actually 3 or 4 times the size of the game, and the readers are actually only there so they could put the manual on the disc rather than printing one out. And Space Crusade takes the biscuit. It's a whole 1.2 megabytes of space on the CD. Absolutely nothing was added. Even the installer defaults to trying to install off the A drive. So they literally took the single high density floppy disk and slapped it on a CD. And there you have it, a number of interesting ways to fill a CD. Now if you've got some examples of some creative ways that developers did this in the past, leave me a comment below and I'm sure to check it out, and maybe we can do another video. So until next time, I've been the Goldfish, that was an incredibly 90s music video, and this was Goldfish on Games. Now if you're going to excuse me, I'm going to watch that Hit Squad video again, because I love that early 90s CGI. Thank you for watching my silly little video. If you enjoyed it, there should be links on screen to check out some of my other videos. Also, you might consider liking and subscribing, as it really helps a small channel like this grow.